Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to call this Thursday, April 25th, 2019 Board of Education meeting to order. And I believe we have some students, are they in the back, from Happy Hollow? I see Dondi back there. Oh, there they come. And is it Ashley who's going to be doing our introduction? Great. You guys come forward. If you want to make a line in front of us here and then face forward so everybody out here can see your face. And I saw you practicing outside, so I know you're ready to go.
All right. Thank you guys for having us. These are our Happy Hollow K Kids, and we're really thankful to get to be here and kind of see this process in action and start you guys off.
Following directions.
Hi, my name is Ashlyn Jones, and I am in 3rd grade.
Hi, my name is Ryan Parsons, and I'm in 4th grade.
Hi, my name is Trayton Whittle, and I'm in 4th grade.
Hi, my name is Ella Collister, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Hi, my name is Molly Miller, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Hi, my name is Caden Foster, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Hi, my name is Haven Adams, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Hi, my name is Addie Williams, and I'm in 4th grade.
Hi, my name is Presley Drake, and I'm in 4th grade.
Hi, my name is Campbell Miller, and I'm in 4th grade. Please stand for the pledge.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Move to adjourn. Good job.
Wait till they get out. All right. So up next we have Alan with roll call.
Justin Eichmann.
Here.
Tracy Farah.
Here.
Nika Weitzman.
Here.
Tim Hudson. Here. Bob Moranto.
Here.
Megan Hurley.
Here.
Keaton Smith.
Here.
We are at that time of year when things culminate and the recognition agendas are teeming. To begin with tonight, we're going to introduce yet another state championship team from Fayetteville High School. Would the Special Olympics basketball team from Fayetteville High School please come forward?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mandy Beasler, and I had the honor and privilege of coaching these wonderful athletes at the state tournament, and they won gold and came home as state champions. Some of them were unable to attend, but we have Josh Swearingen, Elijah Toston, Chase Clay, Colin Murphy, and Jordan Dorff.
This is very exciting. Another championship for Fayetteville. The Fayetteville Public Schools are pleased to recognize and honor the FHS Special Olympics basketball team for winning the 2019 state championship. Fayetteville High School is known for winning state championships in every area, and we're excited to welcome you to the list of our state champions. Your win excited the whole school. Please accept our sincere and proud congratulations. Well done to all of you.
job, guys.
Continuing another trend, we'd like to welcome yet another member of the perfect ACT score. Would Albert Coe please come forward? Albert is a senior, and he is one of 3 current FHS students to have that highest score possible on the ACT exam. Dr. Moranto.
I think I've awarded you a bunch of times because I know your mom and dad, so it seems like the right thing to do. And love you, love your family, and you've got some amazing college choices ahead. I know the next 10 days are going to be tricky figuring out which one, but wish you good luck, and they're all good. Recognition of outstanding achievement for Albert Coe for making the highest score possible in the ACT exam. Very impressive performance in the ACT, places you among the highest performing students at FHS and the nation, and your stellar career is just beginning. We know amazing things are ahead. We look forward to watching your career, and we will do so with great pride. Accept our sincere congratulations. Thanks so much.
Okay. Not content to dominate just on the state level, the Woodland Robotics team went national and came home with a 4th place score at the National Robotics Tournament. Will those team members please come forward?
Just to let you know, the team you see in front of you is one of several teams we have at Woodland Junior High, but this team has actually jumped well beyond the rest, taking 2nd place in our state tournament, participating in the U.S. Open, taking 4th place there, and on Saturday they'll be leaving to head to the World Championships in Louisville, Kentucky this weekend.
Hi, my name is Tash Patel, and I'm in 8th grade.
Hi, my name is Albert Liu, and I'm in 7th grade.
Hi, my name is Simon Mathis, and I'm in 7th grade.
All right, well, congratulations, guys. 4th place in the Create U.S. Open Robotics Championship. Your impressive performance came on a national stage with some of the highest levels of competition in the world. We are quite impressed with your application of classroom learning to solve robotics challenges. You represented Woodland Junior High, Fayetteville Public Schools, and Fayetteville very well. Please accept our sincere congratulations.
Okay. Parents, one more time. The parents, if you want to come forward. There you go. Okay, here comes. We good? Okay. Well done. Also faring well on the national stage were FHS film and TV students. Would those students who competed in the Student Television Network national competition please come forward?
I'm Leslie Allen, and I'm the FHS film teacher. And during the week of March 26th through April 1st, the FHS film and TV programs attended our annual National Convention Student Television Network, otherwise known as STN. During the award ceremony, FHS Film was awarded 3 of the 7 National Film Excellence Awards. Brett Helms won Best Art Direction Set Design for his film Stalker. He also won Best Sound Design for his film Stalker, and Ian Lynn, Jordan Giacalone, Bella Warner, Obadiah Kimmel, Colin Schultz, and Noah Chacon won Best Writing for their film Last Hope.
and the TV staff was at the same competition. We actually had those students send in a video before we went to the competition, and they won the best weekly for the Southwest region, which includes Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana. And so they were one of 7 national finalists for the best weekly show in the country. And then while we were at the competition, our on-site anchor challenge was awarded the second best in the country. So that was Sam Kicklack, Allie Smith, Kate Castleman, and Maris Sisko.
I'm Allie Smith. I'm a senior. I'm Kate Castleman. I'm a senior.
I'm Carter Gray, and I'm a senior.
I'm Jordan Jackaloni, and I'm a senior.
I'm Ian Lynn, and I'm a junior.
I'm Sam Kicklack, and I'm a junior.
I'm Obadiah Kimmel, and I'm a junior.
I'm Bella Warner, and I'm a junior.
Totally impressed. Cannot imagine writing a film. Just curious, after you win that as nationals, do you get to do anything else with the film? Can you?
Yes, so we'll continue its run, put it in other festivals and competitions, and we'll be back next month for some other really awesome
I'm totally impressed. I follow y'all. I follow y'all on social media. So I follow you on social media. I've been keeping up. I'm totally impressed. I've been watching all how y'all just keep winning and winning and winning. So, and I know like more than half the kids in this place. So I'm excited about this. Let me read it to you. Recognition of outstanding achievement for winning the Best Writing Award for your film, Last Hope, at the 2019 Student Television Network competition. Your team used creativity and knowledge of film to write a national award-winning film. How many high school students can say that? Please accept our sincere congratulations on this very impressive achievement. So excited for y'all.
And I have a recognition here for those that participated in winning the Best Weekly Show and the Southwest region of the U.S. at the 2019 Student Television Network National Competition. You guys are getting used to receiving awards, it looks like, but year by year, FHS TV continues to gain more recognition and regional and national attention. You are certainly the best high school TV program in Arkansas, and now the nation is taking notice. Please accept our sincere congratulations. Good job, guys.
Break into two. Let's book in. Let's do film and TV. There you go. That works. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Okay. And then TV. And not to be outdone, some of our artists went to the annual Arkansas Young Artist Competition and brought home 3 first-place awards. Would those artists please come forward?
Hi, I'm Charlie McLeod, and I'm a freshman.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Weber, and I am in 11th grade.
Hi, Alyssa, and Charlie. I want to tell you how impressed I am. I feel like the stuff that you create in private, it's such a weird, naked feeling to see up on a wall or taken away from you in a separate space. It takes a lot of a very specific kind of courage and commitment to your art and the person that you are. I'm really proud of you guys. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that part of yourselves with all of us. In recognition of outstanding achievement, the Fayetteville Public Schools is pleased to recognize and honor Charlie McLeod for earning first place in painting at the 40th Annual Arkansas Young Artists Association competition. You competed against the best art students in Arkansas and took the top prize. We're confident this is just one of many accolades to come your way for your impressive work. Please accept our sincere congratulations. And Alyssa, in recognition of outstanding achievement, the Fayetteville Public Schools is pleased to recognize and honor Alyssa Weber for earning first place in non-functional aesthetic ceramics in the 40th Annual Arkansas Young Artists Association competition. You competed against the best art students in Arkansas and took the top prize. We're confident this is just one of many accolades to come your way for your impressive work. Please accept our sincere congratulations.
Okay, thank you. And to the Above and Beyond Awards that are presented by the Education Committee of the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce each month. And would you please welcome Kirby Harris.
Our April honoree is Ashley Trainum. If she will join us. Come on up, Ashley. Ashley is a counselor at Happy Hollow, and one of her colleagues wrote the following. Mrs. Trainum is the school counselor at Happy Hollow. She goes above and beyond on a daily basis for everyone that walks through the door of Happy Hollow. She has been instrumental in building relationships with students, parents, teachers, and staff. She is always willing to help out in any situation. Mrs. Trainum approaches the toughest of conversations with a smile and a kind, caring, empathetic voice. She partnered with OGC during the first semester and provided 7 weeks of parenting classes that aligned Choose Love. Mrs. Trainum is an asset to Happy Hollow and Fayetteville Public Schools. Congratulations, Ashley.
And that's the recognition agenda. Mr. Eichmann. I move to adjourn?
Yeah.
That's all good.
Got through the fun part, yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, so up next we have citizen participation. I have not received any, and Alan's shaking his head that he has not received any requests for citizen participation, so we're going to move over to board member liaison reports. Mine is going to be rather short with regard to the Fayetteville Public Educational Foundation, is that we have the Celebration of Excellence on Monday. I believe it starts at 6. Is that right? 6? Is that the calendar? 6 or I believe it starts at 6:30. If I'm suddenly blanking on the time. It's either 6 or 6:30, but 6:30. Thank you. And I've said this probably the last couple months when I've given this update. There are some there's quite a bit happening will be percolating up. Probably have some more discussion about it ready for the summer. So go ahead and move over to Tim with the update on, I guess, the end of a legislative session and perhaps adult ed.
Nothing to report on adult ed. One thing I can say about the legislative session is, yes, it's over. So that means some of us are relieved. I have an 8-page report, which I will not go through act by act. Just a couple of highlights. Act 545 did change election dates, starting with the presidential primaries and then preferential primaries, and that trickles down to school board elections. If you'll recall, the previous law required that we choose either May or November for school elections. Now on presidential election years, that's going to back up into March. So this is the abbreviated version of the description, just so you can follow along. 3 things related to school board elections being held on the date of the preferential primary. First, it moved the date of the primary election on the years when presidential elections are held to the first Tuesday after the first Monday in March. Second, it moved the timeline for the submission of candidate petitions for the elections that would now be March to March for school board elections, and odd years to be the 3rd Tuesday in May. Please be aware that the change in the preferential primary election between years with a presidential election and those without will result in individuals having terms of differing lengths. This is because the length of a board member's term is now based on when the election is held for that position rather than a specific number of months. So we're going to do a quiz. Which one of you remembers? Anyway, and what that basically does is it does away with the November timeframe. We had elected to go with May. I think one district in the area went with November. So on presidential election years, it backs up quite a bit. On off years, it'll be back in May. One that I know a lot of folks are excited about, Act 641, mandating 40 minutes of recess. Doesn't apply to school board, it's for elementary school kids. But I know there's a lot of parents and groups are lobbying and requesting that state mandate. Also, let's see, there was one other, another thing to highlight are the things that didn't happen. And I'll say thanks to a number of our friends in FEA and AEA, there were a number of bills that had to do with providing state funds, tax dollars to go to private ed through vouchers and other types of scholarships. I'll put scholarships in quotes. And most of those were defeated. A couple were withdrawn, and we'll be back. Many of them will be back in 2 years. I will send you the 8-page report to read at your leisure. That's it.
You know, I know I'm preaching to the choir here a bit about the election day, and we've talked about this before, but the whole idea was to have greater participation. And in 3 years, we moved the election date 3 times. And I cannot imagine that they could have done it in a more confusing way, where we used to have an election date in September that, you know, that could be ours now. Our wagon is hitched to the presidential or the gubernatorial train on even years. On odd years, we're the only thing on the ballot. So it's a weird dynamic that they've created, which I think is a mistake. But that's what we're left with.
Signed into law.
Yeah.
So we'll respond accordingly. It did require now. It used to be the school district was charged with being the body that had the responsibility of notifying the public of election dates for school elections. That goes to the county now. So I don't know if that's one less memo that has to come out of Dr. Colbert's office, but it does fall to someone else's responsibility.
All right, thank you, Tim. Or any questions for Tim? Okay. Thank you. Next we have Bob Moranto on the Academic Advisory Committee.
Not much to report. We had a meeting April 4th that went really well, a lot of parent participation. We had the science teachers presenting the efforts of the Science Task Force and staying late to answer lots of questions, and I thought it went well. We're taking a break over the summer, but anyone who wants to be involved in that starting in the fall, feel free to talk to me, talk to Steve Weber, and we'll be glad to put you in the loop. I think it's been a pretty successful effort.
And Keaton, as far as the liaison with City of Fayetteville.
Yeah, a couple things. So the bond issue passed. The direct impacts to the school district are primarily in 2 areas. One, it freed up money to partner on the purchase of Lewis Park. And then 2, it included money for sidewalks, which the mayor told us in our joint meeting are being concentrated around school buildings, which I think is a really, really cool partnership that's moving forward with the cities. We also had a really successful kind of community and city partnership celebration last week with the first CTE signing day. So wanted to highlight that. The mayor as well as the chamber and other city officials were there. And that recognized our CTE students who were either received a scholarship for their in their CTE area of study, or were directly entering the workforce or the armed services, and they were celebrated just like our athletes are that receive athletic scholarships. So it was a really successful event. Kudos to the team and Lisa Hudson-Pillar and everyone else that contributed to that event.
Right. So with the board member liaison reports being concluded, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Colbert for superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Dykeman, and to the board members and to the public. I would just like to remind
people about a few things. First, we only have 21 days left in the regular calendar and 30 days left in the CLC calendar. And remember that because we had a snow day, the last day will be May the 24th instead of May the 23rd. So mark your calendars. You have to come one more day longer in May the 24th. Also, I'd like to just bring you up to date with some results from the different task force that you had charged us with. One first, let's do the security task force. As you know, there were several things we wanted to do and try to upgrade to make sure that our schools remain safe and all. And so far, we have gone through and added the different security cameras in several of the buildings, and we have a rotation system, so that's on target, and we're doing well in implementing those throughout the district. So we do have that rotation going on. And then the other thing, we also talked about adding different additional SROs. I want to let you know that within this upcoming year, we will add 2 more SROs, bringing us to a total of 7. And that process is trying to make sure that eventually we would have enough to cover each of the buildings. So I'm kind of pleased that we will be able to add 2 additional SROs to the staff. And also, we like to move to the mascot task force. We do have some recommendations that the committee has been working very hard. I'm going to ask one of the co-chairs to come up and give that report, Ms. Holly Johnson. Ms. Johnson.
Short. Good evening, Dr. Colbert, Mr. Eichmann, and members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to present the work of the Mascot Task Force. Stacy Leeds, our other co-chair, offers her regrets for not being present. She is currently traveling back to Fayetteville. We want to take this opportunity to thank the members of the task force for their time and dedication to this effort. We have a few members that are present tonight. We have Vince Chaddock is here, as well as Michelle Hayward and Chris Lawson, and also David McClure, I think, is still here. Anyone else? I think that's everybody that's present. So we really appreciate their time and dedication to this effort. I also wanted to take a moment to thank Dr. Colbert for asking me to co-chair the task force. I was really pleased to serve as the representative for the district, but on a personal note, I was pleased to serve as a parent and a community member and a patron of this school district, and I believe wholeheartedly that the transition upholds the long and sometimes groundbreaking tradition of inclusivity and equity upheld by Fayetteville Public Schools. And I wanted to step forward and give you these recommendations. You all have a copy in front of you if you want to look at those while I go through them. The following recommendations were approved by the task force members present at the April 8th meeting, which was the culminating meeting, capstone meeting of the task force process. They worked on these over the course of 4 meetings and set forth that both schools would keep their current colors of red and blue, that the schools would phase in the purchase of uniforms to minimize the financial impacts of the change, that moving forward from this time, each school would minimize the use of cowboys and Indians, concentrating on using the W and the R in printed materials and T-shirts, etc., that the new mascots will not use human imagery or symbols associated with culture, nationality, race, or ethnicity, and that the mascot selection process would be mirrored at both schools. The process will follow a recommended schedule for 2019. April-May would be an announcement of the mascot transition process. August 15th through September 15th, we would have a district all-call for mascot submissions, and that means internally, externally, community, anybody who wanted to offer a suggestion. FPS would work with the 2 principals to create the mascot submission form. It would be ready by the start of the 1920 school year, and the form would provide an option for individuals to enter their name, relationship with the school, or other comments such as the reason they submitted the mascot or what they wanted to see the mascots represent. Each school will have developed a committee for the review process to be in place by September 15th. That committee would be 13 members, composed of 3 staff members, the principal, 1 of the task force members, 2 alumni in 9th through 12th grade, 2 8th grade students, 2 7th grade students, and 2 parents. September 15th through October 15th, those school committees would sort through the submissions and narrow that selection of up to 5 choices, preferably 3. And during that time, the committees would meet jointly at least once prior to the final ballot distribution to talk about those submissions and ensure that they weren't both picking the same ones to put on their ballot and to address any other concerns or questions. October 15th through November 15th, there would be the school-based vote. All school employees and students would be allowed 1 vote, and the mascot that received the majority would be the winner. December 1 would be the announcement of the new mascots. And that is respectfully submitted by Stacy Leeds and Holly Johnson. So turn that back over to Dr. Colbert. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. We really appreciate the hard work that has been put into the task force, and we will follow that schedule that has been presented to you to make that change. The other things, you know, a lot have been happening with new staff members and with people retiring and resigning. We do have a list upon your approval later on, but I'd like to introduce some of the major ones to you tonight so you can put a face to your name, and we have them here. First, I'd like to introduce, have actually Dr. Weber, if he would come forward, he's going to come and present to you the next person who's going to be the Executive Director of Secondary Ed. Dr. Weber.
Thank you, sir. It's my privilege tonight to introduce the board to a familiar face, Dr. Christina Hudson, who's currently one of our assistant principals at Ramey Junior High. Dr. Hudson is a servant leader. She's an instructional leader, as she's proven in her time in Fayetteville Public Schools, and she's a change leader, which makes her an ideal fit for Fayetteville Public Schools, and this is a critically important leadership role. She'll join Ms. Michelle Hayward, Executive Director for Elementary and Middle Level Education, as her counterpart with the Executive Director of Secondary, which serves our junior high through high school and into NWAC and college. And hopefully, as we increase our concurrent credits, she'll be a leader in that role as well. She's respected by all of our K-12 principals, and she's a respected member of this community. She has, in the short time, been here, increased numbers of student clubs, business partners such as Walmart, and her connections she's made through her family and her network. She's brought business leaders to Ramey Junior High in the short time she's been here. So we look forward to her supporting AVID, junior high and high school programs, college and career readiness, definitely the ELA task force. Her background in Baton Rouge, Louisiana includes several years as an instructional coach with English language arts, and next year is the English Language Arts Task Force, so that will make her an ideal fit for that role, as well as literacy across all disciplines. It's my privilege to introduce our new Executive Director for recommendation tonight, Dr. Christina Hudson.
I don't want to cry, but I'd just like to thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm very much looking forward to the work. I'm an Army wife, and so I'm used to a challenge, and I'm excited about it. So thank you so much.
Okay.
That's the only Hudson that ever gets a standing ovation. I'm glad it's you.
Okay, and we also have some changes in our support services. Dr. Sluggan would come and do that on.
Over here, I was watching both of them, and they were both, I think maybe he's a little happier about this. Thanks so much, Dr. Colbert. We appreciate it. We're really, of course, excited for Dr. Hudson, and Support Services has some amazing news, too. So I'm going to invite and introduce you to someone you probably don't know, Mr. David Tate, and ask him to come up. And we have an awesome structure that we're really looking forward to for next year, which we feel like will provide better service to kids, better service to teachers, and ultimately provide us a better communication process with the city, which is where we're trying to ultimately get. And so Mr. David Tate will be serving as director in his original capacity, but he will have 2 assistant directors that will be helping him. One is Mr. Steve Flickinger. You want to come on out? And he has been amazing to work with this year. I've really enjoyed getting to know him and his wonderful wife. We are doubly blessed by the Flickinger family. I'd also like to introduce the other director who was previously serving as locksmith for our district and serving over safety and security for School Dude, which is Mr. Nathan Parker. We are thrilled to have them. They're going to be like the Three Musketeers. You're going to see them everywhere. And then we also have, taking the place of Mr. Parker's former position as locksmith and security and safety and working in School Dude, is Mr. Curtis Qualls, joining us from Springdale School District. We are so thrilled and so happy to have these guys on board and working with us. And Mr. Tate, with the FCA coming and the IGA coming, he is very thrilled to have them on board. He said that he was thinking he was just going to coast, but we filled up his dance card pretty full, so he's excited. Yes. Dr. Colbert, is there anything you wanted to
That's
add?
it. Good.
No
Great.
standing ovations for these guys, but they deserve it, that's for sure.
I agree. They do work very hard. We should be standing and giving them that. Good job. We appreciate them very much because they do a good job for the district and making sure that the school building is running up and ready to go for our students. Last but not least, tomorrow at 3, we will be having a meet and greet to introduce the new head coach of FHS basketball football, basketball. We did that basketball. I'm kind of excited. Casey Dick will be joining us, and we asked the public to come out and welcome him to this great team. So thank you very much, and appreciate it. Back in the hand of Ms. Dykeman.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Colbert. So up next, we have the consent agenda, and there is a certified slip sheet addition. So it's an addition to the other certified sheet that's in the consent agenda. So at this time, can accept a motion to accept the consent agenda with the addition of the certified slip sheet, or if there's an individual item that needs to be pulled out for discussion or consideration.
Let's make a real brief announcement. Just
Sure.
There's always some amazing people here retiring, and I just want to recognize two real quickly. Mike Robinson, I see just announced, and Mike has put in I don't know how many hours over the years, tutoring kids on Saturday and after hours, doing all kinds of things. I just wanted to recognize that really quickly. And on a more personal level, Becca Murphy is Becca Murphy Cox leaving the district, and it is mostly folks up here, folks who had really good experiences in school. My family, not so much. And I will say that when we moved here, Becca was our oldest teacher for 2 years. He was lucky enough to loop, and just had an enormous impact on our family and on our son in particular. And just want to recognize that and thank both of these wonderful individuals.
You stole my thunder. I was going to say the same thing about Mike Robinson. I
Yeah.
just can't. I wanted to say I wanted to pull him off, but I know that we can't. He
Just take a pen and scratch them off.
We've always threatened to do that.
He's one of the best math teachers around, and you know, math can be so challenging for kids, and he just walks them through it, and he has a way about it, and it's difficult, and I can't even imagine being a math teacher and getting that across to kids, and I'm really sad to lose him. He taught both my kids. So.
We got a big shoes to fill for sure. Yeah.
I want to tell you, Henry Childress retiring, which is not fair from Ramey. He recently was recognized at the Martin Luther King dinner for, was it the Unsung Hero Award? What was I forget the award. Unsung Hero, or just that guy behind the scenes doing all kinds of good stuff.
Right.
And,
For the MLK, yes.
You know, we're gonna miss him in the district, no doubt.
And then Ms. Dykeman and the board members and the public, we ask that you all join us on May the 20th, that we would have our retirement banquet.
Right.
So we will be doing that. So come out and really, and I say thank you to them for all the service that they've provided to our district. So that May the 20th.
So don't forget those kind words. You can repeat them again on May 20th, which is always a great event.
It is,
Glad we do that. Okay, so we do have the consent agenda, and at this time need a motion.
I would move that we would accept the consent agenda as presented with the slip sheet. Is it just one slip sheet?
It is just one, correct? That's what I thought.
Second.
It's just a certified. Okay, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Consent agenda is adopted 7-0. And next, we are off to new business, the curriculum review cycle, science task force, library task force, and Dr. Weber.
Good evening. We have members of the Science Task Force here this evening, and I won't introduce each of them. Most of you know because they're some of our most outstanding science teachers in our district. But at this time, I'd like to just recognize representatives. We couldn't invite everyone tonight, but we'd like to introduce representatives of the Fayetteville Public Schools Science Task Force. If you could please stand and be recognized. In my first year in Fayetteville Public Schools, I was asked to design a curriculum review process. Fortunately, the board kept me and approved the process, and I'm still here, so I was happy that you liked the process. At that time, it occurred to me that teachers like Henry Childress at Ramey Junior High will retire one day. They will attend a retirement banquet, receive applause, and shake each board member's hand. Traditionally, when a teacher retired, we lost 30 years of experience, their resources, their best lessons, and their wisdom. The curriculum review cycle takes a teacher in his or her final years, like Mr. Childress, and allows him to pay it forward to the next generation of teacher leaders. David Wentz is here this evening. Mr. Wentz is a veteran teacher at Fayetteville High School who serves as a national trainer with the College Board. Without a science task force, we're missing out on the expertise of a national consultant in our own school district. Many school districts in the United States operate as a system of schools. Individual schools doing their own thing, writing their own curriculum, and students get a different opportunity to learn depending on their address. In Fayetteville, we are building a strong school system, not a system of schools. A system that guarantees the same key skills and concepts regardless of your child's school assignment. We selected over 50 teacher leaders nominated by building principals and asked them to work together for 1 year to analyze the district's strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement in the Fayetteville Public Schools science program. Tonight, I will present the curriculum and program recommendations of the Science Task Force. The process included teacher leaders, very important part of our process. A lot of districts will hire 1 or 2 science directors or coordinators, and they'll work in a central office and write curriculum for the entire district. And that's a good process. A lot of districts do that across the United States. But this process involved over 50 of our best teachers recommended by their principals. A program review, so it's not just about curriculum design. Before you design the curriculum or revise it, you have to ask what's working. What's not working? What are the barriers to teachers? Lack of materials, lack of resources. Maybe one school's PTO funded a bunch of microscopes or lab equipment and the other school didn't have as much money from their PTO. We want to get out of PTOs funding a curriculum or materials, and we want to move towards Fayetteville Public Schools purchasing the resources that teachers need to do their job. So the program review analyzed strengths, weaknesses, and barriers in the curriculum, the resources, the materials, and in the program, K through 12, and including pre-K. Kathleen Hale is here this evening, our director of pre-K, and she's been a part of our math curriculum review process and our science curriculum review process. This year she had 2 pre-K teachers on the team. So we have a pre-K through high school program. And finally, you have a hard copy of program recommendations. Clearly, we won't be able to afford everything that they recommended as the task force, but this was true with the math teachers. And what I found out is that when principals have extra money, or a PTO has extra money, or a school receives state rewards money, now rather than going through an online website and finding some things that would be nice to have, the teacher leaders have identified program resources.
So we will attempt to purchase as many of these resources and materials as possible, such as textbooks, online materials, lab equipment. These will be purchased by Fayetteville Public Schools. The additional above and beyond recommendations will be considered and funded in future years as possible. One thing that came out of the math task force was the need for a district math trainer. There has been a giant return on investment on Miss Lori Huff, who also has recently been selected to serve on the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics Board of Directors. So we have another person represented at the national level serving as a trainer for our K-4 teachers. So that's an example. The math task force said we need a trainer. We didn't know if we could afford it until mid-July last summer. When we had some open positions, we created a math trainer position. So that's an example of bottom-up leadership. Ken Blanchard used to have a triangle, and it'd have like Dr. Colbert or the CEO at the top, then the assistant superintendent, then the principal, then the assistant principal, and then the teachers at the bottom. And you flip that triangle upside down, and you see it's no longer bottom-up leadership, it's top-down leadership, but the people sitting beside me are making the recommendations. I know a lot about curriculum, but I don't know third grade science, and I sure don't know chemistry. So I need people who teach kids in Fayetteville to tell me the strengths and weaknesses of the program. So this is the process we've used, and the teachers are proud of the process. Now that it's over, they're ready to recommend what I'm bringing to you tonight as a board. The board approved curriculum review cycle that I mentioned earlier is something that the board has seen, but maybe people in the audience have not seen. We started in the first year with mathematics and a K-6 music education program review and curriculum design, and that has been successfully implemented in year one this year. We moved to this year with the science task force, the counselor task force, and the library media specialist. Earlier this evening, Ashley Trainham from Happy Hollow Elementary was recognized as a leader, an outstanding school leader. She was on the counselor task force. These are the quality of the leaders who are helping redesign our curriculum and our programs. So the people behind me are excellent leaders, both in the district and in some cases at state and national level. So these leaders have developed a science curriculum review, and I will say draft. They've finished their work, but it's a draft until it's reviewed and approved by the board. So after this evening, the board will have 1 month to review the curriculum, and tomorrow Ms. Parker will send an email to the board that includes the website and the resources and the materials and recommended curriculum. Next year, we will move to ELA and world languages, and we're looking forward to that. At this time, I'd like to show about a 2-minute video clip. It includes several of the teacher leaders who are here this evening. And just like last year, at the end of the year, we wanted to reflect and see where we started and where we are now, and talk about where we can go in the future with Fayetteville Public Schools science program.
We're all working towards that, common goal, and being able to write this curriculum not just with our, immediate colleagues in our particular subject area, but also with the different grade levels. My hope is that for students, as they're receiving science curriculum in Fayetteville Public Schools, is that they will see that cohesiveness.
A lot of it goes back to just meeting with the other people from Ramey, the high school, the middle schools that we have. Just, I won't say an aha moment, but just all the interactions that we've had. Hey, have you tried this? Here's a neat website. Have you thought of doing this lesson? Just the culmination of all those little small moments they've helped me out quite a bit.
I think this will be very beneficial for our students because we worked with the upper grades as well to help the lower grades know what they should be preparing for. So it's kind of, we're able to see the end goal, and we're able to see what we should work on to help them progress through their education in order to help them succeed.
When I started, I had a textbook and a legal pad, and sometimes I would just stare at that legal pad not knowing what to do. Now I think a new teacher could come in and really have a solid launch pad to get in the classroom and do some good things.
It does so much for developing trust within our district
and transparency, again, within our district, giving teachers a voice in writing curriculum or adopting curriculum, and giving teachers the opportunity to talk to each other and learn from each other is just invaluable.
Thank you to each of the teachers who were part of the video, and we have additional videos on the website that we'll post this summer where it was so good. After we made the board video, there were so many quotes and takeaways that you can imagine when we hire a new teacher, they can go watch the video about the process that teachers went through and about the hope for the new goals and standards. And so those videos will be added in the future, just individual videos of several of the teachers in the room tonight. Our curriculum review cycle and materials adoption includes a 4-stage process. In the first stage, stage 1, we determine the goals, as I mentioned. We use a force field analysis, a tool that helps us identify the strengths and weaknesses or the resisting forces in our program. Then we move to unpacking the standards. That may not mean anything to a board member, but it means a lot to a teacher. The standards are kind of like written in a different language. They're hard to understand, and until you unpack them, you can't really give a set of standards to a teacher and just say, go teach. So a gift that this group has given to future teachers in Fayetteville is that they've unpacked the standards. They've spent hours and hours working with curriculum specialists, working with outside consultants who have given us feedback by video and in person, working with our science specialists from CMACE at the University of Arkansas, and working with our science instructional specialists at the co-op. We have unpacked the standards, and we've broken this down to where it's easier for teachers to read. We don't want teachers going to Teachers Pay Teachers, Pinterest, Google, and trying to find a good science lesson for second grade science. Our best teachers have put together their best resources and experiences, including people like Mr. Childress, who are retiring this year. On their way out, their gift to the district is to give back some of the best resources they've created or found over the years, and we've put that all into a single website. Curriculum design is what takes the longest amount of time. I think the teachers think we'll never leave stage 3 and find stage 4. They start complaining a little bit and wondering if we're ever going to get to adopt materials, because as a teacher, I mean, you really want to see what are the goodies out there, what are the new products that are available aligned to state standards. And so materials adoption feels like it'll never get there. Most teachers come in and they want to do stage 4 on the first day, because materials adoption is the fun part. But as you can tell, board members, we determine the strengths and weaknesses of the program. Then we analyze the standards. In this case, next generation standards, science standards, NGSS standards. Then we work on curriculum design, and finally the materials adoption. So the materials adoption can't really take place in stage 1. A lot of districts do. They just go out and buy the materials and call that the curriculum. But we write our curriculum before we adopt our materials. The final product tonight includes a pre-K through high school science draft curriculum for Fayetteville Public Schools. Materials adoption, I won't go through all of the materials adopted, but in K through 7, we adopted STEM Scopes. STEM Scopes is designed out of Rice University, and is research-based, and it is one of the more popular programs used around the United States. But we didn't choose it because it was popular. We chose it because it aligned to our standards, our district goals, and the needs of our program based on our needs analysis. And finally, clarity about grade level goals. This is the unveiling right here, drum roll. This is the website that has been designed by Julie Brannon, and much of this website has been designed by Molly Kelly. If you could wave, Molly. Molly's, I don't think she's gone to sleep before 3 a.m. in the last 2 weeks, because she's been trying to get the website ready for the board meeting, and she has been working under contract with the district, but she is one of our teacher leaders at Holt Middle School, and she has unbelievable talent with website design. So we had a bunch of Google Docs, a bunch of links, and she converted it into a website, which you'll get to see more of tomorrow when we send the link to you. The FBS science curriculum will include a unit title, unit overview, enduring understandings, concepts, and I can statements. We don't want a first-year teacher saying, I can blank, We have defined that for the teacher. The teacher can choose how to teach it, but they don't need to be making things up. We've heard of first-year teachers saying they want to quit after their first year because they have to teach elementary, has to teach science, English, reading, math, social studies. That's a lot of preps every night or every weekend. So we want to provide them with the tools and resources so when they go into their teacher meeting, they have what they need and they can define how they're going to teach their class or personalized learning through the skeleton that the task force has created. And then just a glimpse, this is what we've created. The next generation science standards has what they call three-dimensional or 3 different colored blocks. These 3 different colored blocks include science and engineering practices, disciplinary core ideas, also known as DCIs, and cross-cutting concepts. Cross-cutting concepts are the big ideas that students should engage with. When you and I were in school, you learned vocabulary. If it was the bold black or bold red word, you learned 8 words in the chapter, and at the end you had to define the words. It's kind of low level. It's not really high on memorize and recall. You may have learned some key skills in science class, but conceptual understanding is what the high school teachers are saying kids need more of. So we have to have more time to go deeper with the standards. So we will only have 3 or 4 units in elementary school. We won't have 15 units or 15 different lessons. We will have 3 or 4 units that last almost the entire 9 weeks. And that's so we can go deeper with the skills and the conceptual understandings, and that's outlined by design in the next generation standards. The last thing I'll show you on this site is key shifts in science instruction. The key shifts in science instruction include what teachers should do less and what teachers should do more. And everyone sitting behind me in the room tonight agrees with this, but they would even say there's some of this that we don't currently do. When you have new standards, you change. And so the new standards have asked for changes in teaching and learning, and this is going to involve more instructional time at the elementary level. Currently, some teachers would say, well, you know, I teach it from 2 to 2:30 at the end of the day when I can squeeze it in, or I teach social studies first quarter and I teach science second quarter. Our building principals at the elementary level had a meeting with Ms. Hayward at the recommendation of the task force. The task force said, we can't teach the new standards in the current time we have. The master schedule has to change, and that's out of our control. Ms. Hayward met with the 9 elementary principals. They had a lengthy discussion, and they voted as a group to provide 2 hours each week of science instruction. Now, that may be 1 hour some days because the lab takes an hour. That may be 20 minutes. But that is what the teachers will have guaranteed, because they can't plan instruction this summer if they think that they're still going to have 10 or 15 minutes a day for science. And you can't really even set up a lab or go deeper with the questioning and the things that the standards are asking students to do in this right-hand column. So the teachers are excited about this, but they also realize we have to have training and implementation. We have a lot of work because we had 50 or 60 science teachers, but that didn't include our whole district, so we still have to have professional development. And Ms. Nandra Campbell, our Director of Professional Learning, will continue to coordinate that this summer and into the fall. And many of our teacher leaders on the task force will help us with training, along with the co-op and others. Recently, we were shipped or mailed a book from Commissioner Johnny Key with the Arkansas Department of Education. This book went out to every superintendent in Arkansas and every K-12 principal. Its title is High Reliability Schools. And in this book that the State Department thought, was important enough for everyone to have in every district, we thought it was important as well. So we purchased a copy for every director in our office and every assistant principal. We've done a book study and we've analyzed each chapter. We assign chapters to our principals. And one of the chapters talks about a guaranteed curriculum. A high reliability school provides students with a guaranteed and viable curriculum, and that's exactly what the Science Task Force has done for Fayetteville Public Schools. They have provided a curriculum that provides enough time and pacing, so they've analyzed how much time it takes to teach these units, and they've broken it apart. And then they've also analyzed what do students need to know and be able to do so they can be successful at the next grade level and beyond. The students are counting on us. It goes without saying. It's up to us as adults And the parents that send their kids to Fayetteville Public Schools expect that when they graduate from high school in a few weeks at Bud Walton Arena, that they graduate with the skills and the concepts outlined in the standards. And so it's very difficult for us to guarantee a curriculum if we don't have a local curriculum. So the Science Task Force has reviewed and revised all of their best practices and all of the curriculum documents that existed before now, and they had to make some changes because the next generation science standards request some changes even in how some of our 30-year veterans have taught science. So science instruction is changing for the better, and we are prepared to make that move with the next generation science standards, and the Arkansas Department of Education shifts. When a school staff has a more informed conception of curriculum, a teacher's day-to-day decisions about how to deliver instruction not only affects student achievement in that classroom, but also future student achievement. This quote drives my work as an associate superintendent. We talk about curriculum alignment and vertical alignment and a lot of buzzwords, but until we can do what the Science Task Force did, it will be hard for student achievement to grow and student understanding to go deeper in Fayetteville Public Schools. So I feel honored to work here in the district as an associate superintendent. I feel honored to work with teacher leaders and principals who support this work. And this past year, it was an honor to work with Michelle Hayward as a leader in our district. I can't get this work done on my own. And next year, I look forward to Dr. Hudson joining us with the ELA and World Languages Task Force. The desired outcomes are probably clear by now. Equity drives the work we do in Fayetteville Public Schools. Opportunity to learn, guaranteeing key skills and concepts in every elementary school in all 9 schools, in all 3 middle schools, and in both junior high schools and beyond. We have to provide an equitable curriculum, and you can't do that. If you say, well, where's your curriculum, and the district can't show you the curriculum, then they don't have a guaranteed curriculum. And now we have a draft curriculum that I'm honored to present to the board this evening on behalf of the Science Task Force. Student understanding is another outcome. You say, well, we want to close achievement gaps, or we want to go deeper with student understanding. We want more kids to go to college. We want more kids to go into science. Every teacher behind me would like for more kids to go into science fields, but they realize it's not always about science fields. Sometimes it's about the skills that you learn in science class that you apply in other parts of work and life. And so all of our disciplines have skills, and so the skills and the conceptual understanding will just make them better citizens when they graduate from high school. These are some of the people I referenced earlier, and these are people who supported the work of the Fayetteville Public Schools Science Task Force this year. We're very honored to have some specialists, some state and national organizations, and very special thanks to Casey Neal at the Co-op and Carrie Book at CMACE at the University of Arkansas. And special thanks to all of the teacher leaders. At this time, Mr. Eichmann, I'll take questions from the board about the Science Task Force and the recommended curriculum.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Are there any questions for Dr. Weber or the task force? Megan?
I have a couple questions. This packet here, Dr. Weber, what is this? Can you help me understand what this is?
There's a packet before the board this evening, a hard copy known as final recommendations. So all year, teachers would say, what if we did this? Kind of what if questions, or how could we afford this? Or what if we had 9 more of these? Or what if we had an extra staff member in this department? And so we just kind of have a wish list, and I'm not asking the board to make a decision on that. I'm just making you aware. The librarians and the library task force will be next, and they have some facilities questions. So that's really more of a Dr. Slocum issue that I take to her. But everyone on the task force knows that they can't get $1 million worth of changes, because a lot of the money we have set aside goes to the materials and the purchased curriculum that we may need to purchase. But this is just for your awareness. You may see something in there that pops out and you say, yes, I want to talk to you more, Dr. Weber. So I think the teacher leaders that I work with feel respected, knowing that at the end of the process, the final recommendations will be reviewed by the board, but there's no obligation there to make a decision or a vote tonight or next month. It's just for you to be aware of what they analyzed as recommendations to make the program better.
As I just flip through it quickly, there are some grade levels and course topics that are, you know, developed. So like bio, for example, is very robust. Should I understand from this that like our physics program, like we're set to go, we have no hopes and dreams? No, or is that, are we going back to that and kind of looping? Is that our bio needs more pressing than our physics needs?
I don't want to go on record for any group because I don't have the list in front of me, but yes, you can assume that at the junior high and high school level over the years, we've invested heavily. High school, as nice as Fayetteville High School, has outstanding equipment and outstanding labs. And so some of the requests may be heavier at the elementary and middle school level, where through No Child Left Behind era, a lot of school districts in the United States didn't put as much investment into science as they did reading and math, and that was driven by high stakes test scores in some cases. I wasn't here at the time, but our teachers have told me that there are several needs. And then you have other programs where Dr. Colbert said there's a science closet. An elementary school may have enough science materials that they don't need as much at their school. So we're looking at funding and how we can support the needs, but the teachers know we may not be able to support every need this year. It gives us a documentation because they won't get this chance for 5 or 6 more years, so it documents something that in 4 years we could come back to if we had extra funding.
Okay, sounds good. I have 2 more questions. The first of those is to the teachers in the back. So I feel like one of our biggest roles as board members is to help ensure fidelity to work that you guys have done, just kind of by looping back and asking questions. If there was, can you speak to some of the stuff that you would like us in the next 5 or 6 years to keep kind of asking about, stuff that's really important to you and that you would hate to see, I don't know, fall by the wayside, especially sort of at the elementary level? Not that there's anything wrong with elementary, but just that I feel like by the time you're teaching physics or bio, you have a whole program that's yours, but in those younger grades.
Programs or anything just at your school, and please stand up when you speak. You can stay there, but please stand up when you speak. And what I know is that some of these individuals have spent $500 to $2,000 a year for the past several years out of their own pockets, because to do a lab 6 times at the junior high costs money, and that's typical of science teachers. They spend a lot of money, and that's what we want to avoid, is having teachers spend money out of their own pocket to teach class. But anybody that would like to share, and then Sim, if you could go last. I know you're new with outdoor education. I know you have some needs, but anyone who has a need or just a recommendation for the board to hear. For a good question.
For the video recording, we need him to come to the podium.
Oh, okay, if you could come to the podium. This is $1 million opportunity.
Just don't ask for $1 million, but
You can ask.
Thank you. My name is Chris Drake. I teach 3rd grade at Happy Hollow Elementary. What I experienced, and I've taught for 12 years in the district, is, first of all, the time frames that we have allotted to teach are very diverse amongst the district, so I'm glad that they're addressing that as well. We run into an elementary of a big issue of different schools have different materials available. Some things are outdated. The process that we went through on the task force, I thought, was a very methodical process. I think it was designed to, we never had the intention of trying to adopt a book or something. We've always talked about those materials are dead on arrival. So through this process, we really communicated with every school within the district, but what we're proposing in elementary with STEM scopes, it's a wonderful program. It fit into what we're teaching. We looked at things that would fit and mesh into what we were teaching, not find a program and then we're going to teach it. So it was kind of a backwards design piece. I'm very confident in what we're proposing would be accepted mainstream and elementary by all teachers. I think it's a wonderful program. I think the process that we went through, we second-guessed ourselves a lot, but we kept revalidating, and I think that I was proud to be on this task force. It was one of the best experiences and opportunities I've had in Fayetteville Public Schools, just working and collaborating with other individuals.
Thanks for your work. So what I hear you saying, Chris, is that you would want us to double back and check in on the timing factor that
Absolutely.
elementary teachers are truly being given.
Absolutely. I think that's a big piece that, as Dr. Weber stated, with No Child Left Behind, math and literacy was the main focus.
Right.
And so as I'm speaking with a lot of teachers, there's just a wide range of difference when in the time periods that science is being taught, the duration that it's being taught, materials. So we're trying to streamline that, and I think that conversation that Dr. Weber stated, he was going to collaborate with Michelle Hayward and talk about time frames and schedules and master schedules. I think that that's a big part of it as well.
And then the STEM scopes was the other thing that you want us to.
Yeah, STEM Scopes was the program that that really aligned with what we were teaching. Third grade, I mean, it had a wonderful unit on force and motion. Weather is in every unit that we have. It had a lot of wonderful graphs, charts that ties in with ACT Aspire, which is our main form of testing that we just finished today.
Good. That's true. I have a third grader.
We took
I know
science
you did.
today. But I think that the STEM Scopes was it was a very comprehensive piece, and I think that it just meshed well with what we were hoping to get.
Cool. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
We just saw you at Holt. That's so fun.
Yes. I'm Molly Kelly. I'm at Holt. So, like that?
Yeah.
Oh, I am. Okay. So I just wanted to speak to, let me start with this. Holt has the opportunity every year, the 6th grade group goes to Heifer International in Perryville, and that is funded by our PTO. And I know that Owl Creek, for example, doesn't have the supportive PTO that Holt necessarily has. And it bothers me a little that there aren't these incredible shared experiences amongst all, at least middle school students within the district, especially because in a lot of cases with our kids, this is the only opportunity they would have to do something like that. They're not necessarily getting home support for science exploration and social studies explorations and how those things come together. And I would love if we could, I guess, hammer down on some shared field trip experiences that all of the grade level would get to experience.
Cool. Thanks, Molly. Appreciate it.
Richard Campbell from Woodland Junior High. The thing I'd like to make sure that the board checks in on and comes back to, is your question, is our facilities. Our high school is, wow, it's great. And when our kids make that trip over to the high school, they see all this really cool stuff, these state-of-the-art labs, all the cool beakers, and they come back to Woodland and they say, why don't we have that? You have an expectation, all of y'all, if I said a science room, what would it look like? But we don't have that at some of our schools. We don't have hot water in some of our sinks. We don't have hot plates. We don't have electrical needs. So some of the basic essentials that we need to teach science, we're asking for. Science is not just about theory, it's about putting your hands on stuff. So we have a lot of requests for just materials to put that device in that kid's hand, to experiment, to fail, to learn from failure. So a lot of our requests, I mean, it's a lot of material. But to truly teach science, you've got to put the thing in the kid's hand. You got to let them break it. You got to let them build it. You got to let them twist it, manipulate it, bonk it, throw it, track it with iPads, spill it, break it, learn from mistakes. So when you look at our materials needs, it looks big, it looks large, it looks kind of all over the place, but they're needs that we have. And I know we may not be able to get them all at once, but over a series of time, there's an expectation of what science should look like. We want to make sure that we are progressing towards that. Do we have the facilities? Because those are long-term investments. Do we have the short-term investments of manipulatives and consumable materials that we need to teach that kid that year, but also the stuff that we need to teach kids for many years to come? So that's something I'd like to look at.
You have a wish list?
Do I have a wish list?
This is the wish.
That's what
that big packet.
Oh, on there,
This is
okay.
the wish list.
On the back part, I haven't read all that yet. Okay, so it has all the stuff that you really want for your classroom,
It has
like the hot
requests-
plates, like the everything.
There's a lot of things that we need, just facilities, the desk space, the water needs, the gas needs, just the materials that we need. Things that we use that just break when you put them in a junior high kid's hands. things that you have to replace. You want kids to learn about roller coasters, let's build them a roller coaster, but that requires that we have to go out and get stuff beforehand. So the ready access needs to materials, some of the stuff that we've planned ahead for, some of that we go out and get the night before at Lowe's or Walmart. So it's just making sure that we have the resources we need to teach that kid that we need that day, that week, that month.
To jump in and say, I know some kids who've had your classes and have learned a huge amount, just a huge amount. So I know that you're doing those trips to Lowe's or Walmart or doing whatever you need.
Thank you very much.
Definitely one of those teachers that likes to blow things up, right, Mr. Campbell? Famous for that over at Woodland.
It's fun. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Okay, so
I've got a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
I thought we were going to hear from environmental.
Okay.
Oh,
Ed, I
we
think.
have one
Yep.
more?
Okay.
We have one more.
Good afternoon or evening. Sim Barrow, I'm the Environmental Science Coordinator, and I want to thank you all, first of all, for just taking the time to listen to all that we have to say. I really appreciate the opportunity myself to come up. This was a great experience for me. Being new to this school district, I started back in August, and you know, I have a little bit of a different perspective coming from a non-formal education setting, working for a local nonprofit. And especially even my position here at the school district, working at Lake Fayetteville and coordinating sustainability efforts and school gardens in the district. So it's been really interesting for me to see the teachers' work, and I've really done my best to listen to the things that they have said. And one thing that I've really heard over and over again is the affirmation and reaffirmation that these experiences that the school district is able to provide has a lot of value. Things like Lake Fayetteville and supporting that program. Also, Ozark Natural Science Center, that experience as well for fifth graders. And then the sustainability. I know that we did have an excellent Green Team celebration at Botanical Garden a couple weeks ago. And so I would say some things that would really benefit the environmental education and sustainability initiatives would be you know, to really encourage those experiences and to support those and continue to support it. And really, I think, you know, Dr. Colbert has shown a lot of support for that as well, and I thank Dr. Weaver too. So I guess I wanted to say thanks, and I also wanted to recognize real quick just that the teachers that have been in the task force have spent a lot of time this year shifting their own paradigms about how science instruction works to be really experiential and less content-based, and learning those content pieces through things like storylines and those 3 dimensions. And so, you know, from the school board side, how can the school board support that? I think allowing the teachers the space to do things that might look a little different from the way it did before.
Is there anything that you would, so, I mean, we don't say, please keep this the same, right? Like, that's not, we're not like, is there anything that you would like us to check back in on as an ask when we're talking to Dr. Colbert or talking to Dr. Weber or talking to Ms. Hayward, like to check on whether that innovation is supported and happening actually in classrooms?
Yeah, I would say from, you know, like the sustainability standpoint, the green teams at the schools, you know, we have some green team leaders represented in the task force. And what I've seen is that how much action the green teams are able to achieve varies from school to school. And so one of the things that we'll be doing is developing kind of like a base standard for what those green teams are achieving as far as achieving some of those sustainability goals that the district sets. So checking on those green teams and how are they doing, how are these schools supporting that? It may be financial, it may be capacity. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. Are there barriers that you'd like if you're looking at green teams and how that's rolling out? Are there barriers in some schools that you would like? I don't want you to be like Polk, you know, but just sort of across the board stuff that you would like us to check on in terms of what makes a green team thrive. Is that the way I want to say that?
Yeah, it's really capacity related. So having a staff member that is fully available, I think, is probably the biggest need. Someone that can be present at the school, present with the students, and that can be difficult when it's the teacher that's in charge of that because, I mean, they have so many other things that they're responsible for. So yeah, that, I guess the capacity, staff capacity is probably the biggest challenge that I've seen.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's exciting to talk about this now, especially because of, for those people in the district for whom it matters, ESSA scores are really affected by science now. I know you all know that, but that, which is, I don't know that we always give Tim's legislature the credit it deserves for including things like science. So good job, legislature, for including science.
Yeah.
I think this is really exciting. I'm really happy about it. I have a couple of questions. One is, and I think this is really neat, and the teachers I talk to are very enthused about it, which means a lot. But how do we know 1, 2, 3 years? In the first year you do something, there's always some implementation lag. We all know that. What kind of data can we collect to see if this is working as we go forward?
Right. Most people just look to test scores, and that's certainly, we need to look at test scores and assessment data to see if the students are growing. But in addition to high-stakes tests at the end of the year, we have formative assessments that the teachers have created and that will come with the STEM scopes. So weekly check-ins to see where students are with their understanding. I'd also like, we've never talked about this, we've had a lot of conversations about teaching and learning, but I'd like to find someone at the University of Arkansas. In my last district, we'd partner with Duke or UNC Chapel Hill, and we would have grad school students come and help us because they need a project, and they were very, very talented students. So I would think a University of Arkansas grad school project could include program evaluation, or, I can come up with the indicators, but sometimes it's the time, even for Dr. Dugan, to run a program review in the middle of spring assessments. So if we could partner with someone at the University of Arkansas, or even a professor working on a study, I would welcome that, and I know that you would be the right person to help me connect with the right department.
We have some very suitable people that could help, I think.
Thank you for asking. I would welcome that, and we're ready to do that with math now that we've had 1 year of implementation.
What's a district, I really like what you're doing here. What's a district you can point to and say, that's kind of, or is there one nearby that you can say that's kind of what we want to look at like in 4 years?
It's hard for me to say in Arkansas because I haven't been back in Arkansas for very long. But when we look at districts who are performing well, they have a guaranteed curriculum, they have formative assessments, and they have a response to intervention, which is missing right now, or it's beginning. We hired Leslie Merritt as the director of RTI, and so when students don't learn, that demands a response. You don't wait till the end of the year in the high-stakes test. You have to respond in a timely manner, just like if I took my son or daughter with a broken leg to the doctor, I don't want an assessment 6 months later.
Right.
I want some help immediately to get them out of their pain. And so a team of teachers can analyze the data and provide different instructions. So recently at Owl Creek, I saw the 4th grade team take kids and just put them into different groups. It wasn't my class, it was our students, our school, and they took kids and put them in different groups for support based on their readiness level. We're also moving to personalized learning. So with personalized learning, currently in a pilot study at 2 of our schools, the personalized learning would allow students who have already learned or demonstrated mastery to continue to go deeper, because once again, we don't have 15 units, we have 3 or 4 units at the K-6 level, and we don't want students to sit there and tutor their peers if they already know it. So we feel like the teachers are very excited about it, and we feel like those are the things that a quality school system has in place, and we're trying to be that quality school system. Just as a side note, not to brag on me, but to brag on our math task force. Our math task force has been asked to present at the AAEA Summer Institute July 29th through 30th in Little Rock. The governor will give the keynote speech, opening keynote, and then it's usually superintendents and administrators, because it's an administrator conference, that we take all of our principals and assistant principals to. But our math task force, 5 of our teacher leaders will get to present. So I think in a way this summer other districts in Arkansas will see what Fayetteville teachers are producing.
That's really cool. I think it's really exciting. I know Johnny Key actually has praised the work that the math task force has done. That's kind of neat. I guess my final question is sort of, and I'm probably a little more the content than process in some ways. I'm probably more of a European or a Canadian in that way. If I'm at a core knowledge school, there's a lot of districts use it, a lot of charters use it. I can just download and say, oh yeah, these are the concepts my kid's getting in 3rd grade. These are the ones in 4th grade. These are the ones in 5th grade. Will we have something like that? I see some really neat exercises and processes here, but I'm not sure where does it connect in terms of understanding photosynthesis or mass extinctions or whatever. Will we at some point have that I can point to parents and say, oh, download it and this is what they'll be getting?
We did not create that initially with the math task force, and then after the board approved it last summer, or maybe even in August, we brought some teacher leaders back into the district, and we pulled out the key concepts, key skills, vocabulary, standards, and you may recall we created a website for parents and community members, people like the Boys and Girls Club or university students who tutor our kids, Potter's House. And so we do have that on our district website now for math, and the goal would be to create the same thing for science. So the website you will see tomorrow when we email you the website is EduSpeak, and it's for teachers. It's the behind-the-scenes work that teachers would use, but we have enough resources there to pull that out and create a science. So that is one of the goals, is if this is approved by the board, we would tell parents, because if I'm a 2nd grade parent, I want to help my child. So we did not have that a year ago. Now we feel like we have the resources to develop that website.
That's just really exciting. That's really neat.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
There's a couple of these different wish lists that are asking for Chromebook carts, just depending on the subject area. And I'm just curious, for our schools that have the one-to-one technology, is that not a concern, or do we still need an extra set of Chromebook carts for one-to-one schools? Are they separate?
It would be something, these are teachers who are expressing their needs, and their real needs, because, I mean, they teach in the schools, but I would have to meet on a wish list like that with Dr. Slocum and Eric Hatch, and we would have to analyze. We do have some, carts that are breaking over 4 to 5 years. They're not as useful as they were in year 1. So there are schools who we now say are one-to-one, and carts are starting to break down at the end of 4 years. We also know that our number 1 need is at Fayetteville High School in regards to one-to-one. That's the school that we do not have. The board's well aware of this, and Dr. Slocum and Eric Hatch are working on that with the principal, Dr. Dostal at Fayetteville High School. So I don't want to say that they don't need it at their school, but we're doing quite well at the K-8 levels. But yes, there are still some schools that probably, they know, I mean, if they've got a cart with 30 and 10 of them work, that's why they probably added it to the list. They're frustrated.
I guess my question is, when you have a school where each student has their own Chromebook, are these, the ones that are being mentioned here, are they the same Chromebook? Or is this like a chemistry-specific device, or?
They created the list. We haven't gone in and done an audit. We would have to do an inventory, and we would have to check to see if they're working or half working. Some teachers just get frustrated when they're slow. I get frustrated when my laptop's slow. So in some cases, it may be that it's just running slower. But Dr. Slocum has done so much in the time she's been here to analyze the technology needs. So that's where having an associate superintendent with facilities and technology comes in, and all of her experience in another district has with one-to-one has given her a lot of experience. Same with Mr. Hatch. So I can't. I'm not trying to dodge the question.
That's all right.
I just can't. I can't answer it without seeing.
But
what
most of the
Woodland
time,
and
they
Ramey
will
has.
be the same
So
Chromebook.
it
yes,
would be
right.
like two. So there's two. I just wanted to understand the overlap in those two.
We like Chromebooks because they're reliable and they're affordable, and
Yes.
they're
Most
pretty
of the time, they will
sturdy.
be the same, yes.
And then you may have already answered this and I just missed it, but when it comes to taking this list, I'm just curious, the process in prioritizing, who's involved in the prioritizing of this wish list, or how does that work?
The Science Task Force, without any prompting, came up with the list. There were items on their original materials list in 2 grade levels that I had to go back and say that's just not within the district's budget. So 2 grade levels went to their Plan B, or their second option. Glenda Solons and I will be in the process of preparing a list for the board of what is purchased from this document, but STEM Scopes has been referenced several times tonight. It is a curriculum materials resource. We would have called it textbooks, but now it's so much more than just a textbook. And then the kits that teachers need to teach. One thing that Ms. Solons has identified is that some of the some of the programs charge triple or quadruple the price for their kits. So we are going to go out and purchase the materials that go in the kits, which a lot of districts around us do, to save the district money. But we're still in the process of sorting out how much on the list we can purchase. But purchasing the materials or the books or the technology, software that they have to teach us standards, that's a decision we've already made. And we'll get a list to you. That way you can compare what's left on the list.
Well, when it comes to retrofitting classrooms, it just seems like there's a variety of people that need to be involved in that conversation, outside of teaching and learning.
Yes.
May I just interject that?
Yeah.
And we have heard that, so what we have decided to do within the budget line item for each of the schools, we're going to do a task force line, well, it'll be science, so that they can go and make the decision on a site-based management that school will determine what materials they need to purchase, so that would be part of their budget line item. So that's the way because I heard Mr. Drake was saying that some schools are different and they have different needs. So in order for them to get what they actually need, we're going to put it in their school budget, would take care of those
So it
supplies.
would be like Woodland's
Yes.
budget, not
Yes, sir.
it would be like Woodland's building budget around the hot water and the gas
Right,
access
and
stuff
actually
like
we
that.
just text Mr. Tate back there. If a school is having problem with water, hot water, if you want to let me know, we'll get you hot water because we know that we should be able to take care of that problem. We just need to be aware of that piece, yes.
Yeah, and I
Because
would-
I realize that doing the science projects and all, as a former teacher, I know that that's an important issue, so we will look into that.
And outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would encourage all of the teachers and paraprofessional, everybody in the room, if you don't have a basic need like that, like the district is in the business of providing that for you, that's
Right.
not a special request, that's not a
know
subject-based request, like a super awesome collection of like beakers or like, I mean, that kind of stuff, fine, but like water and gas and electricity, like you got it, friends. No problem.
You know, I'm just kind of sad that we haven't had, I see so many things on the list that science is so hands-on, and we don't have some of those tools. That really upsets me. I think that definitely needs to be a high priority. But also, is there not an opportunity to partner with, there's so many drug reps around here, and there's so many things we could maybe get at a reduced cost, or, I'm not sure. I see a lot of that stuff that I feel like that there could be opportunities through. I'm throwing out like
There's a
call your
university
drug
like
and
just
that kind of
that
thing.
has a lot of excess lab equipment fairly often.
Who does?
The university.
Oh, see, I just feel like that there's maybe an opportunity to get some of this, otherwise too, but also, I look at things like Sharps containers. Those are free. Why do we not have those? So
One of the things that's nice about the task force, the review process, is that it affords time for each one of these groups to come together, and this where these type of things bubble up. And I don't think it's for us to solve. I appreciate this being here because it gives us a glimpse into what you all are doing, and that's to take a full review of what you have and what you need. And I think one of the things we've learned is that it may depend on the building and on the classroom, but that effort is being put forth. And so while tinfoil and beakers may be certainly a need in one classroom, it may not be for next. And I notice equity being repeated several times, Dr. Weber, in your presentation, and I can appreciate that that's one of the primary goals here, is to make sure that we can afford that. And one of the things I've also heard here is that you all are listening to that and are going to be taking great strides. I would not be the person to try to dole out ping pong balls and beakers and burners and that sort of thing. But I think I've gotten an appreciation that you all are looking at it, you all are taking seriously, and so certainly appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr.
I had
Eichmann.
one chemistry question, since you said it was your highlight of your science career. If someone can explain how Freon keeps a room like this so cold for hours on end, and if someone wants to go
We
hit the
would
button.
donate some
Thank
Freon.
you.
I'm watching some people out here as they start putting on another layer.
Yeah, constantly, some hot tea.
All right.
Dr. Weaver, I do
Yes, sir.
appreciate the engagement. Each time we've heard from the previous group that was here for the math process, the excitement is the same. I'm not someone who probably gets as excited about math and science as some, but it is really nice to see the collaboration across buildings. Maybe folks who didn't know each other well now have some great new partners and colleagues out there.
I think so. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we
We'll
on
move
to
the
libraries.
Task Force next. Thank
Okay,
you
great.
so much, science teachers.
Thank you, science teachers.
You don't have to leave if you don't want to.
Our library task force is joining us once again. We don't have every librarian here because we knew we had a lot of parents here tonight for awards in the spring, but I'd like to introduce at this time, if our librarians who are here on the library task force representing their school, if you could please stand and be recognized. I asked our library task force when the last time they had a program review. Now, don't get me wrong, they meet monthly. This is a group that already has a professional learning network. They're on an island for the most part. There's only one in each school. So when they meet, they really tackle a lot of things. And they've done curriculum review, and they've done a lot more than some programs because they have had regular meetings, and they have had some people here who have been here for 20 or 30 years in the district, and they've had some longevity. But they've had some resources, they've had websites, they've had different places, they had 3-ring binders, they've had everything before technology, and librarians of all people know how to curate. So they've brought together their best resources, just like the science teachers. One of the things we got to do, we thought, well, we've got the Fayetteville Public Library right here in our backyard. Why would we do a library review and not ask people who work in a public library? We get it that they have a lot more money than we do, but we also get that the library is changing. So we went to the Fayetteville Public Library for one of our meetings, and we met with the Executive Director, David Johnson, and his staff. And what David shared with us, this is just a clip of what he shared. He said, our libraries have to evolve. We cannot afford to become irrelevant to our youth. And that was really powerful to the library task force because they already knew that, being school librarians. But the next step is, how do you do that? So that's what they've worked on this year. They've met with national library consultants via Google Hangout or video. They've met with the public library here in Fayetteville. And several times, I'd like to recognize Cassandra Barnett from the Arkansas Department of Education has come to almost every one of our meetings. She's a former Fayetteville Public School librarian, and she came to almost every meeting from Little Rock to be part of our library task force. And she told me she's never seen this anywhere in Arkansas, where librarians did a full program review. And the library task force told me the last time they did this was 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So it's time to do another one. The good news is we have a curriculum review cycle, and in 5 or 6 years, it'll be time for them to review their program again. The Future Ready Librarians is a framework, it's a website, it's a national movement to change the role of the school librarian. I won't go over every piece of the pie, but use of time and space in the upper left-hand corner at 11 o'clock. The use of time and space is your design. If you've been to Woodland Junior High or McNair or Root or several of our libraries, you may see a maker space. You may see more technology, iPads. You may see a Lego wall. You may see the bookshelves pushed back and kids working on projects in the middle of the library. But the space in our school libraries are changing, so we spend a lot of time analyzing space and what other library programs have done in other states. We also analyze the need for collaborative leadership. The school librarian said, we cannot afford to not have a seat at the table next year with the English Language Arts Task Force. We need to be there. In past years, we haven't been a part of that, and that makes it hard for us to collaborate with English teachers. Research projects and all the things that English teachers do, we can co-teach with them. So we need to have a seat at the table when they have ELA task force revision, and so they will. And finally, budget resources in orange. Budget resources will be something I'll mention several times tonight, and you can see in the final recommendations that they have developed that I've shared with you this evening, that budget is a big concern for this group. So they don't want to purchase curriculum. They don't want to purchase the same types of things that math and science did. That they've already met with Dr. Colbert and me, and they've said these are our needs. To paint the picture clearly, several years ago there was a reduction in funds in the Fayetteville Public Schools library. If you're a board member for a while, you may recall that. Districts have to do what they have to do in tough times, and they have to make cuts. Nobody's on this task force is pointing the finger. What they're asking, though, is that in the time that other Northwest Arkansas schools have gone up to $10, $11, $12, maybe $13 per student, we've stayed at a lower level in Fayetteville, and that's going to make it difficult to impact the new standards and the new way of teaching. So just like science has brand new standards, librarians do too. So I won't drive that point home too hard because it's outlined there in their library final recommendations. Very much like science, we involve teacher leaders. We don't have a library at Alps or Fayetteville Virtual Academy currently, but every school had a school librarian. So unlike science, we had 100% representation with school librarians, and the teacher leadership is evident. They are called librarians, but they are teachers first. Program review was really a big part of this, more than curriculum. So we analyzed the new standards, and we analyzed the strengths and weaknesses and barriers, and a lot of that's listed in their recommendations for their program recommendations. Just like I had a short video with the science, I'd like you to hear from some of our teacher leader librarians in this video.
I cannot imagine another school district in our state that has the librarians working in such a team together, that we can all problem solve together, shoot different ideas off, even grade level wise. I work closely through this task force. I've gotten to know all the middle school librarians much better, and we've collaborated. Working in isolation can be difficult, but with this task force, we've really worked as a team.
I believe that the role of the modern school librarian is changing so much, which is why I wanted to get into this field. The technology and that aspect of it really interested me. But I think the role of the school librarian is to foster a curiosity in children and then teach them the skills that they need to be able to answer those questions.
The three main shifts that I see with the new standards coming up from the Association of School Librarians would be creating, making, and really the inquiry process.
I've just been really excited to learn from everybody else, and I just think it was so important for all of us to get on the same page of what is the role of a librarian and how it's changing, and being able to research resources together and look at resources together and just come on the same page as far as what we should look like now. I just think it's important that we look similar because we're our one district.
The library is a place where we really want every kid to have equal opportunity, equal access to resources, equal access to books, learning, makerspace, all of these things. We want to be a place where every kid can get great resources.
The final product includes a key skills continuum, which I will share with the board this evening. Very impressive what they've done with this. Once again, guarantee of what are the 5 skills a first grader needs before they go to second grade. And clearly, by the time you reach high school, there are skills a student needs in order to be productive in the library and research and plenty of other things besides research. The role of the school librarian. The website that I'll share with you tomorrow will outline the role of the school librarian. It's changed. David Johnson told us the changing role of a librarian at the public library. It has changed, and we are ready, and these teacher leaders are ready to change. But they want their principals to know when they evaluate them that this is not your 1980s library. This is not check-in, check-out books only. There's a lot more that takes place in a library. It might be noisier. You don't have, when I was in high school, they always tell you, shh. Everybody has that story of their high school librarian telling them to hush. You go in a library now and there'll be some noise. So Principals need to know what that looks like. And then they've also created a list of interview questions that we'll give to HR, and the HR office will hold those. We don't want to add them to the website, but the HR office will hold those. When 2 or 3 people resign or retire, principals will have access. We don't want principals going to Google to look up school library interview questions. Our librarians have defined the role of a Fayetteville Public School librarian according to the AASL National Library Standards, and they've added resources for principals. I think a lot of times a librarian has a principal that comes in and they say, "You're doing a great job. Like how those kids are working together. Nice job reading that book. Nice job. Like your Lego wall." It doesn't mean anything after 5 years of getting empty compliments. So now principals will know what the key look-fors are in a library because they've designed that. At one point they said, "Wow, are we sure we want to share this with principals? That's an awfully high standard." And then a few people spoke up and said, "That's what we do. Of course we want our principal to know that." But it is a high standard that they've created for themselves. And finally, alignment to the AASL standards. Arkansas has not adopted the AASL standards, but they're supposed to adopt them this summer or this fall. So we're the very first district in the state has already unpacked and reviewed the new library standards. They are out publicly because they're national standards, but we know from our ADE library contact that that is coming soon. Just briefly, this is the exciting part, the website, and they actually haven't seen this yet because they developed a bunch of links in Google Docs, but they'll have a home page about our space, our programs, who we are. Once again, Future Ready Librarian. They will have the role of a school librarian, standards, and on this standards page, they also include links to the AASL, how to read the standards. So a principal or a new librarian will have access to a quick sheet. Once again, as someone said in the video, they work in isolation. The principal says, "Here's your library. We're glad to have you. You were the best person we interviewed. Good luck." When there's no onboarding process for a school librarian in most cases, unless the principal was a librarian. So they have taken this upon themselves to create the onboarding process. So not only is this going to help with the program, it's going to hopefully help with onboarding and HR and retention. I really wanted to show you this quickly. If you get a chance to look at this more deeply on your own. This is called 5 ins and 5 outs. The Library Task Force grades K through 12. In kindergarten, they want kids to know how to identify parts of a book and recognize information as fact and opinion. By the 6th grade, when they exit 6th grade, they want to know how to cite a source. I had to do that for my dissertation, so if I learned that in 6th grade, I'm ahead of the game. Copyright plagiarism. You have children, this is always an issue, and it's getting more and more difficult because with your phone or with your device now, you can just copy the whole paper. Kids have to understand digital citizenship, and you can learn that in a library. And finally, in 12th grade, 11th and 12th grade, identify appropriate databases where can I access? Everything's not on Google. As you get into high school and college, there are other databases you can go to with university or scholarly research, and critically analyze online sources for use in research and distinguish between peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed sources. That's the kind of stuff Dr. Morano teaches grad school students. We're teaching kids through our library when you see a news story to analyze whether or not it's fact or opinion, to analyze for bias. These are skills, and you may say, well, it's only 5. And I would argue the kids aren't in their class every single day. The students come and go from their classes, so they don't have 5 days a week with students. But they have identified the skills, the key skills. When you think of what do we want that graduate to look like at Bud Walton Arena, if I were a mother or father or grandparent in this district, I would look at this. So back to Dr. Morano's question, this is definitely the kind of thing we want to post online. If I'm moving here from out of state and I'm looking for a school district in Northwest Arkansas, I'd be pretty proud to know my child was learning this. So this shows you that the library is transitioning from more than checking out books to skills. So these are skills that they're committed to teaching. And once you put it on paper, then you can guarantee it at Ramey and Woodland, or you can guarantee it at all 9 elementary schools. So this is a document that may look easy, but it took several meetings to work on and to figure out what was most essential at that grade level. I love that document. what they've created is a one-stop shop, and as I mentioned, an onboarding process for the school librarian in our district and future librarians. Policies and procedures, board policies, they used to have to search for those. Anything that's a policy about a banned book or a book appeal, any kind of a policy is now on their website. So they've curated all these different resources that were on websites and in 3-ring binders, and they've placed their best resources here. And we have several people who is 5 years or under in the library task force in being a librarian. One tonight, but there are 2 or 3 others. And so people will leave teaching and enter school librarian, or they'll move here from another district and this is their first job as a librarian. The people, when I interviewed Carrie, who just raised her hand, she said, I feel like this website was designed for me. I feel like I can't always stop and text another librarian. They say, call me, I'll help you anytime, but they're teaching. She said, I can't always stop in the moment. And then another 3rd-year librarian said, there's a resource on there about a year at a glance. And our high school librarian developed most of this. And when she developed this, she did this once again based on her experience as a school librarian. This is what you need to do in August. This is what you do in October. At the end of the year, if you don't do this, it's going to be difficult. She developed this, and some of our younger librarians said, I didn't even know that was part of my job. Because once again, the principals, they don't know. I'm not disrespecting our principals. They just don't know that that's what you do in the library in August. So now there's a checklist of things that highly effective veteran librarians know to do. This is the list I referenced earlier. On the website, the librarians have developed look-fors. So in the elementary library, these are things that they hope that a principal sees when they walk in. They hope that teachers and parents also know that this is what we do in the elementary level. Then at the middle level and 7th through 8th grade and high school. These are the things that they say you should see. So if you come in and see these things, I'm doing my job well. So once again, it's a long list. I mean, a lot of people would have put 3 things down there so they could get 10 out of 10. But they have made a long list of look-fors, and the next step would be that we would talk to principals and say, these are things you need to look for to purchase, or these are things you need to look for. If they've rearranged their library, don't get onto them. This is what the new national standards are asking for in a library. So I'm very excited about that document as well. So much work has gone into this by our school librarians, and the thing that makes their job harder is they don't have 58 people on a task force. They have about 15 people. So it's harder for them to do a big document because they have less staff members. Once again, equity. You heard it mentioned in the video by the last librarian in the video. Equity of resources, equity across Northwest Arkansas, equity of books. We've got some that have really, really dated books and some that don't. We've got some PTOs that have scholastic book fairs and they have PTO fundraisers and they can give the librarian $10,000. We have other libraries that don't have the same amount of fundraising power with their school and their community on that side of town, wherever they live. And they are saying, you know, kids are not bringing books back. Kids are losing books and we don't have enough money to replace them. So meanwhile, those books go down. And the other libraries, the books, you know, are better. So equity across schools, just like curriculum, equity and opportunities. If you're spending all your money on replacing books, you're not out buying Sphero and coding and a lot of the technology that some of the books that schools with state rewards money already have. So just how can the district help them? And they've outlined their request in the final request. Transforming libraries, to transform it with flexible seating, chess tables, different things that Woodland and other schools have done with state rewards money. You know, we can write grants to the Fayetteville Public Ed Foundation, and a lot of their libraries have been transformed that way, but every year we have each of these people competing against each other for about 3 grants. So instead of having to compete for grants or have to go out and buy it out of their own pocket or go get, you know, flexible seating from a university student that just graduated. I know a lot of them go out to the university when the kids move out and they get some really nice furniture, but I mean, it's Fayetteville. We can do better than that, than having our librarians wait by the parking lot to get furniture. So once again, there are facilities issues. This is a Dr. Slocum and Dr. Weber conversation. I'm not trying to put this on the board tonight, but they do have some very real needs if they're going to teach the national standards. And financial support is their biggest question, and I don't feel like they're here with their hand out. I feel like for several years, the district has just had math, science, reading, professional development. We've had a lot of other things we funded from what I've assumed and heard, and they feel like they have kind of been maybe one of the back seat in the district is how they feel. These are people who have helped Fayetteville Public Schools. Really appreciate the state and national consultants and organizations that have helped us. We're not out doing this on our own. We have some unbelievably talented people as school librarians, but they've used resources and research-based tools to make this website. They haven't just made this up on opinion. It's been their professional experience along with the AASL national standards and the Future Ready Library Framework. And I'm so proud of them, and I didn't know much about their work because this is only my third year in the district, but I got to know them as professionals. I got to see their strengths. Each of them have their own strengths that they bring to the table, and they've taken all of their collective strengths, and now they have a website so each librarian can benefit from tools and resources that someone else has a strength. So that they recognize that they have a lot of power in their group. And they've asked, can we meet 2 times in the fall and 2 times in the spring next school year to continue building our tools, our website, and that's an easy yes. We already said yes to that because they're so proud of the work they've done that I'm presenting on their behalf tonight, that they're all ready to roll up their sleeves and continue the work. They realize that this is just the beginning, what they've created, and they want to come back in the fall and talk about those 5 ins and 5 outs and those skills and ask them, how's it working at your school? So that concludes my formal presentation of the 1 year's work of the library program review and curriculum design and final program recommendations. And in closing, before I take questions from the board, Mr. Eichmann, I'd just like to recognize the librarians. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. I might anticipate a question. Just go ahead and ask it. Sister's a librarian, so I know they're very organized people, and we have a very organized list of very organized and thorough list of recommendations. And I thought maybe you might go ahead and discuss maybe what would be your process or mindset with regard to analyzing those recommendations, sort of like what we talked about with the science group. But I think this process has been good at having those recommendations come forward. What's the next step?
They have several things that they would like to have, but in order to transform school libraries, in order to provide equity across schools, the librarians as a group are asking for an increase in funding, and they're currently around $7 or $8 per student, and $7. and other Northwest
no rounding up.
Other Northwest Arkansas districts are around $12 per student. I haven't done my research, but I mean they've lived here several years and they know what their colleagues are getting. And so other school libraries are starting to look more modern. And I think sometimes we walk into a library and we think, man, there are hundreds of books. This is a great place, but it's no longer just books, and even books cost money, technology costs money, but they want to go from that $7 per student to a much higher level. And Dana Trout is here tonight, and she's our lead librarian for Fayetteville Public Schools and a librarian at Happy Hollow Elementary, and she has advocated for this on behalf of the group, and she's had private meetings with myself and Dr. Colbert to advocate. So we are reviewing the district budget to see what we can do, but that's really, if they got nothing else, that's their big ask for, because they know what they need to do in each of their libraries, and it's different, but that to them is their #1 request.
All right. Any
I
questions?
had a question on in our agenda. This is our first look at any of this tonight, mentions the AASL standards or new standards. Are those brand new this year, fairly recent, or? Okay, so it just not.
They say it was rolled out last November as a national document, so they're fairly new. Arkansas has already said they're moving that direction, so we know Arkansas will adopt the standards.
think the scheduling recommendation is really exciting, especially given the recess changes and how those two things could sync up at an elementary level.
Ms. Hurley's referring to a scheduling change, which they all want desperately. It's a harder conversation when I talk to principals, and it's not that they don't support their librarians. Principals have to find, when can teachers have planning time? When can the science teachers get together at a grade level and talk about the assessment or talk about response to intervention? I think librarians over the years are kind of getting tired of being a babysitter. All the skills and things they want to teach, they don't want to be the person who watches your students so you can have planning period or extended planning period. And there's a lot over the years that they've been asked to do that really isn't part of their job. And so what they're asking, and what Cassandra Barnett from the Arkansas Department of Education told us several times, is that's the direction of the new standards. So we're going to have some conversations with principals, but then principals are stuck with, they have to have, recess, lunch, somebody on staff has to be on duty. But what you would see in the new standards is a fourth grade class at Happy Hollow would stay there for 4 or 5 days in a row and go deeper with an assignment. It's no longer go have the librarian read to the kids and babysit them for 30 minutes so we can have planning period. You may still read with kids. They all love to read, but it's no longer just supervising kids. It's the projects, and the time they have really doesn't allow them to do the skills and the deep projects 30, 40 minutes with each class. So they're just like a music teacher all day, just changing classes. And the new standards would say, stay in the library with technology and research and citing your sources. If you've ever, which I know you all have, cited your sources in a paper, it takes time to learn how to do it and then to cite 10 or 12 sources. So they are asking for flex time where kids and teachers would come in and really the librarian becomes a co-teacher, not a librarian who just watches kids so you can have planning periods. So it's very important to them. Ms. Hayward and I don't know if we'll be able to pull it off this year, but there is a possibility that the new recess may allow some flexibility in the schedule. So we've had initial conversations just with Ms. Hayward and myself.
And I feel like as we get more creative with staffing in general, even like the behavior specialist, as the district absorbs more direct supervision of employees that we can delegate out. I think it's an exciting time to kind of reimagine how school days work. And I feel like that's an exciting opportunity to have a higher like active teacher to student ratio for like real learning at that level. So.
It's kind of a dumb, like super detailed question. With the new recess, could a kid just wander over to the library during recess and, read some books and such?
It's not allowed in the current legislation because they're required to have that time. I mean, I don't know if a student could say, I don't want to go out there, but I think due to obesity and they're aiming for more play and more outdoor ed. So even it's really defined on what you can do on a rainy day. So even on a rainy day, you can't say we're going to the library because it's defined that you'll still give kids recess time. So it's a little bit of a challenge.
Central planning from Little Rock.
All right.
One quick thing.
Pete.
My mom was an elementary school media specialist, so a lot of this sounds familiar. So my mom and I will be doing a thorough review of this over the next 30 days. But I loved hearing from the science teachers, during the earlier presentation, and I just wanted to see if there was anything that librarians wanted to add, or whether it was about Megan's question about checking back in a few years, or just anything you'd want to add.
I'll sit down on the front row and just one at a time, and we ask that you come to the mic because it's televised and we can't hear you from that distance, but this will be an opportunity to share some of the passions you have for school libraries and for transforming school libraries. This is Dana Trout, our lead librarian. I've worked with her all year on meeting agendas, reflecting after meetings, and she's helped me quite a bit with this group. So Dana, thank you for coming up.
Great. First of all, thank you for allowing us this opportunity. I've talked to several of my friends that are librarians in other places, and, you know, they're just astounded because this just normally doesn't happen. So we appreciate it a lot. You know, we've learned a lot through this task force. Even though we meet, we haven't had the opportunity to really sit down, pull the program apart, look at what's coming that's new with the standards. Arkansas's frameworks are coming out. We're supposed to have them in May, the new ones, so that's another new piece to this. But what it did is we saw that we had lots of really great strengths. We have lots of really great librarians that work really hard. We also found weaknesses, things that we knew, but this gave us an opportunity to talk about what needs to happen. We talked about scheduling a little bit. Dr. Weber told you, at the elementary level, which is where I am, I give the teachers their planning time, which is fine, except that the collaboration piece that is going to be so important with the new standards never can happen. I'm never able to go to a grade level meeting to see even what they're doing because I have their kids during that time. So the scheduling piece is huge. Working and collaborating technology-wise, working with the technology rep in my building, working with the teachers on things that I know I can help their load, because we know that the classroom teacher's job has gotten harder every day. So why not take advantage of ways that we can help and make their load a little bit easier? And besides, it's our expertise. So that's one really big push. The budget piece, you know, yes, we're asking for more money. We were able to do a collection survey. My nonfiction at Happy Hollow is 22 years old as an average. And when you start looking at nonfiction books that are 22 years old, they're not really relevant. And so as I weed, which is part of my job, you want to be able to replace. But my budget right now does not allow for much replacement, because when you do that, then you're also, you know, you're behind in another area. And that's why the other piece that's in our recommendations that we didn't talk about is the $40,000 that rotates through the libraries, because that would allow us, well, first of all, when you think about libraries and the equity across them and the things that we're being asked to do with flexible seating, the maker spaces, all of those things, they're all expensive. We don't have a budget that provides for those kinds of things. And frankly, the building budgets don't really have that kind of money either. So that's why we suggested this, so that there would be, it would rotate, but every once in a while you'd get a pool of money that you could choose whether you wanted to spend it on furniture, whether you wanted to help improve lighting, whether you needed to catch up some of your collection. That would give that extra pool besides the regular budget, that you could do that instead of just getting further behind.
Looking for $100,000 is what it sounds like. I mean, if you're talking about an extra $6 per student, and then this $40,000 pool that rotates among the schools.
Right, that would rotate, yes, sir.
That's not a huge sum in our budget.
Well, that's what we were looking at when we were looking at the going to $13 when we figured out per student. I think it was somewhere around $65,000 each year that would be an increase, which is a lot of money. But also, you know, the other thing is that we serve every child.
Yeah, that was
Every
you took
child.
what I was going to say. It's every student in
Every
every
child
building.
and every teacher. I mean, that's part of what we believe, is that we're serving the teachers as well as the students. Yeah, in every curriculum area, that's correct.
Why don't you come?
Come on up so we can hear
Karen
you.
Harmon, this
on
is
TV
Karen
land.
Harmon, she's the librarian at Hokum.
Nice to meet you. What I was going to say is that when we're talking about the budget, because I recently ran a report for all the books that I currently have out that are lost or damaged, because our students sometimes leave the district, they take books, damage the books, they do not get paid for. Over the 3 years that we have had our system, that we have our Destiny system, I am currently $1,700 in the hole of books that have been lost or damaged and not paid for, and I do not have the funds to then replace them. On average, you would have to take 2 students to buy 1 book, because most of our books average $14, $17, $18. So when you're only given $7 a student, then you're really taking 2 students to buy just 1 book. So we're looking at our 660 kids, I can only maybe buy about 300 or less books each year to put onto my shelf after I'm weeding out the nonfiction that is, and my collection was 18 years average as the nonfiction collection in my library. So that's just kind of what I was going to add, is that we're also not taking money in a lot of times from these students as they're losing books or damaging books also.
I was glad to see where Ms. Barnett has ended up. I had the pleasure of getting to know her a few years ago and did not realize that she'd ended up at the State Department.
Yeah,
That was a
she's
good get for them.
Yes,
She was
it
my
is.
librarian at Leverett when I was there in elementary school, so.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
and to have, for those of us who've been here a long time, Cassandra is one of the gang, because she was here with us, So to have her come into our task force meeting, for some of us, that's just where she was supposed to be. But really, when you look at it and you think, the head of the libraries for the State Department came to our task force meeting, that's pretty awesome.
Certainly appreciate that.
Anything else?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Dr. Weber, do you have anything to send us away on?
Thank you for your support of curriculum review and program review. We're excited about ELA task force next year and world languages next year. We've already started planning for next year's task force. I look forward to coming back next month with our counselor task force and first review. And I look forward to answering any questions over the next month that you have about science or library and the website and curriculum design. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Okay, next up on the agenda, we have the 2020-21 school calendars, and I believe we may move that to next month because PPC still needs to finish a consultation with teachers. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that is correct, please.
Okay, so without objection, we might hold that one over to the May meeting. On to policy 4201, regulation of controlled substance, and Harrison, you're back there. This is a policy that came to us from Classified, correct?
Yes, sir. In conjunction, working with Certified, we ran through 2 or 3 processes, formats to get it right. To keep it short, it's just what I'm going to call, and I wrote down, a 21st century update of where we stand on any and all medicines, be it legal or illegal, alcohol, whatnot. A lot of it, when it was revised back in '90, I think is still applicable today. Common sense, we don't want our staff nor our students showing up under the influence of alcohol. I think what became obvious now was there are things that exist now that can cause one to be under the influence that didn't exist 5 years ago, 2 years ago. So we were able to work with Certified and Mr. Lawson was instrumental in helping us do this, as always. Just kind of specifying where we stood in 2019. And I really believe that's it. I think it was important to both Classified and Certified to stick with the information at the bottom so we can provide that support to staff members if they have an issue, substance issue, you know, provide them that support, that community, family environment. But other than that, it's just, I mean, I know you all have it in front of you. It's just a more specific, detailed rundown of what being, I get under the influence of any substance would exist of in 2019. So.
All right. Are there any questions for Harrison on 4201? Of course, this is a new policy, so it'll be back before us in May in case is something that pops up. But if there are no questions?
So thank you for your hard work. I know it a lot of detail there.
No, thank those two ladies back there. Yeah, and then certified. We worked hard on it just to make everybody happy because it was one of those policies that affected everybody, unlike that vacation policy that just pertained to classified. So it was a great team effort, so thank you. And
Thank you very much.
all.
Appreciate it. Okay, then next up, we have Chris here who's going to talk with us about new policy, revised policy. It's a revised policy, right, on 3.5, purchases and procurement of commodities and services.
Thank you, Mr. Eichmann. The administration just has one policy revision for your consideration on first reading tonight, and it is proposed revisions to policy 3.5. It's the district's procurement policy. The source of the changes comes really from two different sources. One is the Code of Federal Regulations and the threshold amount required for bidding on commodities used in federal programs. And then secondly, from our Arkansas Public Finance Statute, there is a change that requires preference for Arkansas firms in the procurement process. So those are the two sources, and those would be the two changes that are being proposed to 3.5. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions for Chris?
I'm just kind of curious, how many bids do we do a year? I mean, I have no idea of the scope of this kind of thing around. I mean, I know you won't know exactly, but.
Well, Dr. Slocum would probably be the best person to answer that question. But I can say it's frequent.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just
Okay.
And this is just a naive question, how many bids do we do a year? It must be a huge amount, right? A huge number? Yeah, I mean, roughly, you know.
And we advertise everything on our website.
Wow.
So we are constantly doing bids for different things. Unless it is a construction project, we have a CM, then the bids flow through the construction manager.
I would imagine at a level of $3,500
low.
that you're bidding quite a bit at
That's
that
really low.
commodity purchase level, yeah.
It might, and just kind of a thought I had down the road of being related to various people who are contractors back east. This is a really important part of what we do as schools, and maybe down the road, we could do a workshop on things like, you know, just how this works. I'd be curious, you know, who are do principals have the ability to do this, things like that? And that's just a thought, maybe down the road we might do that. Because it's often a very fascinating process.
Well, thought's well taken, because it is, at times, a complex process and requires a lot of attention to detail. And this public finance statute governs most of the aspects of that, but certainly provides teaching moments for all of us.
Yeah, no, I sure don't understand it, so, which makes sense, I guess. But
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Eichmann.
Thank you. All right, now we're on to old business policy 4141.2, stipend policy. This is one that's, what is it? Is this round three?
Yeah, third time's a charm.
Round three. So
Feeling it.
welcome back, Anna and
Thank you.
Cincy.
Okay.
I say I'm really hungry and
Yeah, I'll shut
that
the door.
door and
The aroma.
Yeah. Don't mind that big scoop that might be missing from something. So after the past two times that we presented this policy to you, we have worked with Chris Lawson, who is kind of like the spokesperson for the admin team and the, what do you call your leadership cabinet? The cabinet, okay. Well, there you go. And so because we meet the first Monday of the month, so it's right after we have our presentation to you, so there was not enough time in order to actually get those revisions, and so that's why you have it a little bit later than normal. So really, there's not a whole lot has changed from the policy. We did take out one of the paragraphs that referred to using contract time as compensation, which is something that we do in this district, but it's not very common. So I think the feeling was that didn't necessarily have to be a part of the policy, and we agreed with that. And then there were a couple of fancy lawyer wordsmithing things to make the process very clear and palatable to the people who have to actually enforce it. So we're happy, and I believe they're happy as well.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So, any questions for me on this policy? I'm not sure if, I just wanted to point out one thing on the athletic stipends, like the actual like chart on the schedule. I don't know if you have that in your packet or not. Yes, at the very, very bottom of it, those two small paragraphs,
Oh, yeah.
those will actually,
Last page?
yes, those will actually disappear from that part because they are now in the wording along with everything else, so that you don't have to look around to figure out.
Yes.
But it's exactly those words. It's just now under definition of a stipend, the third paragraph. Yeah.
Yes.
And then there are some changes to the actual academic stipend schedule that Greg Moness made. You can see that he marked out the ones that we no longer give. And ACSIP now has a new acronym. It is SLIP. And so that has been changed. There was a stipend for the 26 Club, which is actually $1,000, not $250. So of course, because that amount is higher, it will move in the chart, which is not reflected here, but it will be.
So what does SLIP stand for now? Just when we think we know our acronyms, they,
Andrea.
know it? Okay.
It was not. You remember?
SLIP instead of ACSIP. Okay, I'll make something up. It'll be all right.
School improvement plan. Andrea Sego is the one who told us about it because she is on PBC, but I can't remember what she said it was.
Okay.
I apologize.
Well, you all have provided words where none existed before in creating a policy, so not like you had anything to go by, so sometimes that's the hardest work is when you got to do it from scratch. So any questions for Anna and Cynthia? We've talked about this quite a bit, so we're not giving it short shrift, but any questions?
Makes a lot more sense to me.
Yay.
I think just changing the name of the policy helps.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention that too. Yes,
Yeah.
we did change the name of the
Now
policy.
I understand that. That's clearly that's what I needed.
I could go on about something if you'd rather, but are you looking for a motion?
I wasn't looking at you to go on.
Yeah. Looking for a motion?
Please.
Yeah, move to approve the certified personnel extra compensation.
Don't we do all of it?
What's that?
We didn't, oh no, this is our only new business.
It's our
Is
only
I'm
old
sorry, Tim.
business.
I apologize. I interrupted
all
your
right.
moment.
Yeah,
You go.
this is a old
I'm
Sorry. I'm so sorry. You're
No,
right.
if you have
No,
questions-
no,
Okay,
you're
so
right.
I'll
More
finish
experience than
saying,
I do it.
I move approval of the certified personnel extra compensation policy as presented, including the moves that you just described.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the board? Any from the floor? Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, policy passes 7-0.
Okay, so the other little component of that policy that we tried to separate was the national board portion of that policy. It has always been on there as stipend. And our suggestion was, I think, we've come back to you multiple times. And so here we are with perhaps our last counter with taking off the paying the old teachers the stipend. But one way or another, we feel like that at this point, it's time for you guys to make a decision on that stipend. Y'all know what I'm talking about, yes?
We do, but we don't have it.
Well, it was one of those that, again, it was attached kind of to this policy, but also, we also wanted to separate it. So it's kind of in your field as far as like, are you okay with separating it, or do you want to keep it as part of that stipend policy? Or that stipend, I keep saying policy, that stipend schedule.
I don't know if I have
That was
really
originally one of the original.
Sure.
To take it out of the stipend schedule and put it on the salary schedule. So that was our original, to put it as a note at the bottom of our original, as a part of that salary schedule. So here we are, like I said, again, voting. We wanted to take it out because we didn't want them to be contingent on each other, because we felt like the wording needed to be there. But knowing that we didn't want you to vote all or nothing, and because of the National Board stipend, turn down the wording portion of it. So,
Right.
so
I think
that's,
one of the reasons why, too, we were wanting to kind of bifurcate that somewhat was because wanted to have that discussion along with the budget process. And
Okay, yes.
normally we would have had that this month, but I think we had a hiccup with special education funds that we're still
Okay.
waiting to get resolved. We would have had our budget workshop in this April, would have possibly
now
had
it's
a
moving
preliminary
to-
budget. Now it's going to have to be moved to May
May.
because there's a fairly significant line item for our special ed funds that
Is
are
been-
still up in question. And so if at least in my brain, and tell me if I'm wrong, I thought about us having that discussion
along with it.
alongside.
Okay, so that's going to be the plan then, is to like bump this and move this to perhaps May then,
That-
for.
Dr. Colbert, is that
Hopefully,
right?
we'll-
Or-
yes, we'll be able to discuss it during the budget workshop that we're trying to schedule with the board. Yeah.
We're trying for that in May.
Okay.
Yes, May, yeah.
And so that would be a May.
A
thing.
May,
Yeah,
no.
a May
But it seems like
agenda item.
it would be to your advantage to also sit down with Glenda ahead of time and to be able to, I think what we need as a board from you guys is to see that you've done your due diligence in understanding the impact that it would have on, teacher salary raises and whatnot, that bucket that it comes out of. So I think if you were to come back to us with, that research along with your presentation, that would help us. It's hard for us to make a decision without knowing that.
And again, especially in light of like you said, the budget.
Yeah, and in light of that. So I think that that's part of the work that needs to be done before the next board meeting.
Okay, so meet with Glenda, and you're wanting like financial impact in reference to like teacher raises or just across the board?
I think not the teacher raises, but
But I'm just saying like the
national board.
financial impact of this being in relationship to everything.
Well, yeah,
or-
and just because I think Glenda would be able to help you guys better understand too, like which category that funding would come from. So yeah, I think when it comes back to us, we need to see numbers.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Am I speaking for?
And so new numbers versus the numbers we have given you.
So numbers in
previous.
relationship,
To
not
the
just to,
budget.
so numbers not just in relationship to like how you would like National Board Certification Award broken down, but the impact of giving National Board Certified teachers additional financial compensation on our ability to compensate all teachers in the district.
Where that would be fit into our budget and the financial impact, so that when we're looking at it from budgeting aspect, we can sit there and say, okay, if we were going to give National Board Certification to every teacher every year, this is where it's going to come out of and what it's going to cost us within our budget, those types of things. And I think Linda would be able to help break that down.
I'm just like throwing this out, if we did something like with a slightly different approach, not a wholly different approach, but if we perhaps included, we kind of tried to think forward in reference to using this as an incentive for new teachers and kind of not saying that, you know, we wouldn't be recognized or we wouldn't be doing something for the current ones, but, you know, using the, you know, perhaps a new proposal in light of that, would that make more?
You can sit down with Glenda and just say, okay, proposal A,
A.
this is how it would impact and would be at proposal B, this is where it would be impacted.
Okay, so we could do that and bring those to you.
Don't you think?
Yeah, and I think one of the pieces we don't know is that if that particular special ed revenue is not
It's
there, then we have a hole and so whether that is going to be the case or not, we don't know right now. So that's obviously going to have
So
a
you're saying
fairly
like,
significant
if,
impact.
like perhaps you're losing funding for special ed, so then we would have to fill it back with.
We'd
We
have to
don't
make
know. I mean, that's.
Perhaps, that's
yeah.
the possibility.
Right,
To
yeah.
clarify, we're not expecting, you know,
No.
you're not preparing the district's entire
Well, I
budget.
mean, you know,
mean,
I feel
if
like
you
I
want
could,
to.
no.
Plus, we've got all those beakers and foil that Justin wants to get the science lab, so.
And money to the librarians, so yes, I got it.
No, you all did a nice, you already made a revision, an adjustment that, you know, in terms of phasing in, that I thought would, you know, would have been helpful, but that's still part of, you know.
The bigger picture.
It's
Right.
kind of like, as we were listening to Dr. Weaver talk about these recommendations from the different task forces, I mean, the work that he is now charged to do is to sit down with Glenda and
now.
prioritize those things. And so that's all we're asking you to do, because for us to make a decision without understanding the implication on our bottom line, it would be irresponsible on our part, so.
No, completely
Yeah,
understand.
that's
Nope,
all.
that's good, thank you.
Thank you, Cincy.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you.
So we have no other business before us, so we're going to stand adjourned.